Welcome everyone. This is Let's Talk Internet Computer ICP podcast. Today we have a project and a different guest to what is usual. Normally we have with us someone who is contributed and is contributing to making the internet computer blockchain better every day. Today's interview is related to a project that has been developed in other blockchain and that they have finally realized that the only 100% on-chain blockchain without oracles and intermediaries is internet computer. Welcome, Dheeraj Kumar, and thank you for spending quality time with us today.
Thank you, Javier. Thank you for the brief introduction. To introduce myself, I'm Dheeraj. I'm currently based out in Paris. So I am basically from India. So, this is a project which we are working on is Antelope DAO, which was started like 2 years ago during when the pandemic hit and, whole of the, trade sector, and there was a whole crisis going on around. So to introduce brief about Antelope, it's basically a supply chain finance and trade finance facilitating platform, which facilitates trade finance for SME sector particularly, and also having a simple supply chain management system for the international trade, and we automate that using blockchain. So during COVID, as I said, there was a high importance for digitization because the international trade sector was highly affected because of lack of human intervention during that time, and there was importance of digitization. And that's when we figured out some of the main bottlenecks, the problems, the pain points in this sector, and decided to come up with this idea. And we saw that SME were also highly affected because they couldn't perform trade. And there was this opportunity where we could bridge that gap between the DeFi and the traditional businesses, importers and exporters, to for them to perform trade. So that's when Antelope was born, and we went on from there building it, and we did a use case as well where we facilitated pre-shipment finance for an exporter based out in India, where he was exporting vegetables and fruits to Dubai. And yeah, currently we are building on that part of automating the trade processes, because international trade is a blindfold. Basically, there is lack of data, there is visibility in the entire process, needs to be attained, and that's where automation comes into play. And blockchain is a promising technology which can solve that problem. And basically we can onboard different stakeholders involved in the entire chain into one single platform and bring in transparency. So that's where we are trying to achieve. And ICP, and so basically the blockchain is about decentralization. So everything needs to be peer-to-peer, the end-to-end needs to be decentralized at the end of the day. So previously we had built our platform of tokenizing NFTs in a side chain called as, in a chain called a Centrifuge. It's a part of Polkadot parachain. And now we decided to entirely get into the decentralization part, and ICP, we see that it's very promising, where we can have an end-to-end encrypted, decentralized holistic solution, basically, which we can build in ICP. That's where we selected ICP. And since we are coming up with a DAO, basically we are a DAO. So and ICP has this basically service nervous system where which would be very interesting for us for the trade financing aspect, where the community would have that decisions to take related to the trades that's going to get financed. And as I said, discussed with Javier quite time ago, like last week, I told you about that we can come up with a liquidity pool, basically tapping into the Bitcoin network. That would be very interesting going ahead, because there is a huge financial gap in the SME segment, particularly if I want to say it's around $4.7 trillion financial gap. And this is a segment which gets a high rejection rate from the banks and the financial institution of around 56% of the time they get rejected because of various reasons. And for maybe like because of lack of collateral and lack of supply chain data regarding the SMEs, which banks do not possess. and they just reject the finance request what they apply for. So we are coming up with that solution of solving that problem and facilitating trade finance to them, and basically bridging the gap between DeFi and the real world.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's super interesting, Dheeraj, your project. I know you are so excited with your project because I didn't have time to question you anything. I just introduced you and you start like talk about your project, about everything. And
yeah, I mean,
that's cool. Yeah. Okay. But before, I think the audience want to know more about you, about Dheeraj Kumar. You mentioned you are the founder of Antelope DAO.
Yes.
It's a DeFi ecosystem for trade finance to try to join the real world with the DeFi, right? In the trade aspect, import export. Also, you mentioned now you're running on Centrifuge, a parachain in the Polkadot blockchain.
Yes.
It's a super interesting project, but before to dive in more, you even start to dig in more and talk more about the Antelope DAO. But the audience want to know more about you. Who is Dheeraj Kumar? What is your background, your experience before founding Antelope DAO? What is even before the Antelope?
Right. This stories began like when I came to France to pursue my master's in international business. So that's where I met a co-founder, other founder, called Ravi Kumbatula. He was doing his master's in international trade and logistics. So, we had a very good synergy because I was in the business side of having all the aspects of starting up a startup. And his was specialization in international trade and logistics. Previously, he had worked in shipbuilding in India, where he had, experience of building Supramax vessel in Gujarat. And myself, I used to work for an IT company, specifically in the banking sector. I worked for 3 years for Citi as my client, where I worked for 2 platforms in the trading GUI as well as their debit and credit. So we came over here and we had that synergy. And basically, startup is about figuring out a problem and finding a solution to that, right? So we thought that was the time when we entered blockchain as well, where we initially started building a decentralized exchange, basically, a peer-to-peer trading exchange. We're eliminating the third party for the Indian market. For the Indian market, that's where we got introduced to. I got introduced to another co-founder called Chakradhar. So he is very expert. He's like expertise. He had previous experience in the blockchain industry for years, and that's where we collaboratively, we figured out that okay, this solution about having the blockchain introduced to the international trade would be a great idea, and that would solve major bottlenecks in this industry. Because on real ground, even Ravi, myself, we have experience about the problems that takes place in the international trade. Basically, the due diligence maybe, or lack of funds that the importer or exporter face to perform trade. And we thought that, okay, a blockchain, we can solve this problem using DeFi, as well as automating that processes. So that's where we started in France, and myself and Ravi, we got incubated in a renowned business school in France called Catch. So we got incubated there, and we got recognized by French Tech as well as an innovative solution in this sector. And yeah, that's where the journey started. And we are still going on that, building day by day. And we did a use case as well, as I mentioned earlier, where we financed. That was a thing, and we figured out what needs to be improvised going ahead, in the trade, because it's not only about providing trade finance. End of the day, you need to know what's going on in the trade. So that's where automation comes into play, and we need to have that entire control of the end-to-end process of the logistics chain. So that's where we wanted to build a holistic supply chain automation system where trade finance is also part of it. So basically an ecosystem to come up with, to put it across in that way. So that's the journey so far. And we're working on that. And later on, we another co-founder came in as a technical, chief technical officer called Nigam Saini. Now he's also a part of the team. So now we four are collaboratively working on this, building, this holistic solution, the robust solution for supply chain, finance, and international trade. Yeah.
And your case is not the first, nor will it be the last. Many founders and developers much more know with the FTX fraud, and I realize the advantages of deploying their business on the internet computer blockchain.
Yeah.
In terms of scalability, speed, security, energy efficiency, storage cost, now direct BTC, Bitcoin integration without bridges, HTTPs, outcalls without need oracles and intermediaries, real subnets that allows multi-chain connections, efficient DAOs with SNS or the new service nervous system that allows developers to create decentralized token-based governance systems for their dApps. In your case, Dheeraj, your project Antelope DAO started running on Centrifuge, the parachain inside the Polkadot ecosystem. Why have you decided to migrate to internet computer blockchain?
So after
in what way can you benefit from the ICP technology?
Right, from the recent incident that took place of the FTX, everyone in our Web3 ecosystem have realized that importance of DeFi, right? Decentralization. So that's where it makes us more interesting. So, as a DAO, to get in, to have all the data which takes place within our within our platform needs to be on chain, so that the data doesn't go out off chain, So it's more efficient to have that data on chain, as well as the clients, so let's say or importer or an exporter, would also not like to put their crucial data, on chain when there's no such security thing that cannot be maintained. So it makes us more efficient. So that's where previously we were thinking about zero knowledge proof for that sake, regarding, having the privacy enabled, so that they would be comfortable putting out their trade secrets out there on chain. So we analyzed all these factors. So we want to build a peer-to-peer messaging protocol between the importer and exporter, so that they can exchange the documents between them on chain, in more secured way, as well as other trade related messaging what they need to do. Also, when I say about the documentation putting on chain, ICP already has that identification protocol, which solves the same, which serves the purpose of privacy enablement. So and we see that feature. We initially analyzed everything what we could build in another chain. So there is a protocol we are looking at is a baseline protocol. Basically, that's for the automation of the supply chain processes. And we saw the compatibility in ICP network. Basically, it had all the components that were fitting in, and rather it had more advanced thing out there, like for external data to come into the smart contract, we need chain link oracles out there. But in ICP, you have the HTTPS call where the in external data could be got into the smart contract in a more easy way. That also made more interesting. And on the liquidity pool side, as I mentioned earlier, the liquidity out there in the Bitcoin also could tapped into, and it could be utilized for a real world problem like this trade finance, that's out there, and that could serve a big purpose out there. So we decided in that way that ICP definitely has that solution, or the holistic solution out there. And on the scalability wise as well, currently you have, if I'm not wrong, it's around 600 transactions per second, which is very huge. And going ahead on scalability wise, we wouldn't have any problem. And in order to update our platform as well, it would be more feasible for us to keep updating in ICP rather than to migrate to different chains out there. Yeah. So that's what made us get into ICP.
Great. I'm so happy to hear you. And yeah, in your case, you are 100% that the best way to rule Antelope is through a decentralized autonomous organization, DAO.
Yeah.
Internet
Yeah.
computers have the SNS, the Service Network System. Uh, for explain to the community a little bit more, the SNS is the new tokenization, decentralization, run on the ICP, and this is gonna
Right.
allow dApps as, for example, Antelope,
Yeah.
allow dApps on ICP to tokenize themselves and do a token launch and sale, which allow them to raise funds.
Right.
The two advantages here for Antelope, for example, is first, you can get funds from VCs, angels, investors in general. And second, you give complete control to the community. And the government, the governance and the decisions power is in hands of Antelope community.
Right.
How do you think the SNS model will benefit you, will benefit Antelope, the DAO system, SNS?
Right. So as far as I know about SNS system, that entire thing, the treasury thing is controlled by the community, and basically the founders will have a of Antelope will have sort of separate funds where, but they wouldn't have what do you say, the entire decision control over that, where it will be completely for the community base. So so DAO is about that. So when we initially thought about that as well, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. That's about it, right? So basically, we need to give the power to the community to take the important decisions, and also need to have a surety that there won't be a one major person taking the, let's say when we launch our governance token, the governance token should be distributed in such a way that everyone should have the rights to vote for any of the changes that's going to take place in Antelope, and someone shouldn't overpower it. And that serves, SNS serves that, and it's a great advanced DAO technology, to be honest, on that part. And yeah, so it serves the purpose of decentralization in a full manner. And it's as a community, there should be, the main part over here is the problem what we are solving is on the real world, on the international trade side. That's the main crucial thing out there to be considered, is of the due diligence part, because there's lot of fraudulent activity out there in import exports. So what we have figured out is the due diligence plays a very major role in this particular segment, and also need to have a track of the end-to-end transaction flow from the, let's say, from the importer till the exporter till the importer. We need to have that entire data visibility, what's going on in the trade, how many stakeholders are involved. So that would be a great thing, like for the community as well to analyze and contribute and as a community. That will be something very important going ahead in system. And I think
Also,
it will, SNS will serve that purpose on that behalf.
Yeah. Also, for sure. In this particular segment, as you mentioned, the end-to-end transaction and the tracking of everything, like for have more transparency, is super important. In case of the Antelope, how you fix, or for example, the price of import export is something like you fix it, or directly the seller and the buyer fix the price before do the transaction. And also you mentioned about you help like small and mid companies, like maybe have like lack of collateral, and you have like a pool, like a liquidity pool that the clients or the companies can have the funds there. How it works a little bit more, how you fix the prices, and how is exactly the platform, the Antelope platform, or are you working on now, or is already deployed? Sorry, it's already deployed and now is using it, or?
So we have a minimal viable product where we can onboard the importers and exporters into our platform and maintain their trade documents out there, regarding the request for proposal, whatever we say, put it across in that way. The pricing model here, when you say about pricing, the importer and exporter, they will have the negotiation done between, let's say, whatever commodity they are importing or exporting, they would have the negotiation done. That's on the business side. And when, okay, let's say now the exporter needs a pre-shipment finance, then he would have to get a finance based on the purchase order received from the buyer. So basically, in a traditional world, he would go out there in a bank or any other trade finance company to look out for that finance. And if I'm talking particularly about the SME segment, then most of the times they get rejected because of the reason that banks do not, some of the time banks wouldn't have enough data regarding these SMEs, and also the SMEs wouldn't have the capability to, submit the collateral, and they need to go a lengthy documentation procedure in order to get the finance approved. So most of the times they get rejected on this part, and they cannot perform trade. So basically, time's money in trade. So so that's where we fit in. We come into play. We don't ask collateral from our borrower. Let's say it's a pre-shipment finance and it's exporter. We wouldn't ask collateral, but we would do the due diligence part of it. We basically, as an Antelope, we are building a qualitative data layer for this segment, SMEs and MSME segment. We are using data as collateral here. So where we will be having sure shot, even if they if they didn't have a previous huge transaction between any other exporter or importer, we would analyze their business as well, the potential of their business. Based on that, we do this basic in the credit underwriting, what to say, the credit rating, what we provide. For that, you need data. So that's where we are building on that as a base layer, a qualitative data layer for this segment. And as you said, on the tech stack wise, that's where we are anticipating to build a holistic supply chain automation, the international trade automation platform, where we want to onboard all the stakeholders involved in the entire chain into one single platform. And we have everything, the structure, the architecture regarding that, just that we were looking out for a good blockchain out there to build it on. And the ICP, that's where we decided, and we want to build it on ICP, where it serves a purpose of decentralization, where all the data involved in this trade will be on chain, and it will be transparent what's going on around. And basically, we could bring a huge visibility out there in these transactions. And so that's where we are looking at start building that right away. Where we have already a solution for trade finance, where we are tapping into the DeFi pools to bridge that finance gap to the SME segment particularly, which we can do it using ICP, going ahead, having our own liquidity pool that way.
Great. Another key point to do the migration from the Polkadot parachain to ICP is that your software developers team can also directly build with Rust. So it's the same programming language that you use in Polkadot, and that is also used in another blockchains such as Solana, for example, Near Protocol, Elrond, or Hyperledger Sawtooth. This smooth transition is another factor why you have decided to start developing on ICP. That's correct. Your team used Rust, and this is why also it's pretty simple, right? Do the transition.
Yeah, doing the transition simple. That's right. Our developers are looking into that Rust. So previously we didn't use Rust as technology, and ICP, yes, it uses Rust, right? So it's nothing that it's out of the box that it's not that compatible with us. So we are looking into that, and it's a smooth roadway out there to migrate from Centrifuge, what we have built previously, and migrate it to ICP. So yeah. We are looking at for that using the Rust technology. And and previously we had a call with Daniel as well from ICP, and we had discussed the compatibility wise and the technology which we need to consider going ahead. So we are currently working on that. We have that planning, the architecture plan and the timeline, for that project to build on, right? So yeah, we keep you posted on that for the whole community as we keep on building and adding on features into our platform at ICP. As per the latest update from my developers, next week we're going to deploy the minting of NFT on ICP network. one code base, and from there we're going to start building on the automation part, as I mentioned, regarding the supply chain automation. Yeah.
Okay, and your idea is also like start to like a token for Antelope and
Right.
do like for the liquidity pool, right? You need like in the SNS program, you're going to
Right.
do like a token for the community, for the Antelope community. This is something like is going to start as soon as possible, or is in the roadmap for the next month?
Yes. So yeah, I mean, in the SNS, when we as a DAO, we need to launch our governance token. We accordingly will be planning in the roadmap to launch it, anticipate doing in the next 6 months, as we build our platform alongside and we deliver it on timely manner, and we look at launching our governance token as well. That we'll put it across in the roadmap, as I said, in the down the lane in 6 months maybe. We're looking at to launching our governance token out there, and then we start on to take give the rights to the community to take certain decisions out there regarding the trade aspects and what additional features we can. Basically, it's a collaborative work. There will be a lot of ideas flowing in. That's very interesting. We are excited as well. They're good to hear from a lot of people out there to solve a big purpose, basically. Yeah.
Okay, and in terms of business, in terms of different segments, what is the import-export markets that do you have in mind to do the business? Is you are open to any business for trading, just import-export, whatever, or you're focusing in one of product,
right,
one commodity?
So basically, yeah, one thing is about facilitating trade finance and monetizing on that part, on the interest what we earn. And secondly, what we are looking at is coming up with a SaaS solution, sort of an ERP SaaS solution for the emerging logistic companies or small and medium scale enterprises who cannot afford the expensive the ERP systems out there. Basically, the big companies, the big logistic companies have the holistic blockchain solution, but they're again centralized. And the emerging shipping companies or logistic companies or small medium players, and they want to get into that, but due to the lack of resources, they cannot capitalize on that technology which we are building, and we want to give it out there, targeting this segment as a SaaS solution, as a plugin solution. That's our plan in the roadmap. Once we automate the entire, once we build a robust platform, we will be working on that side also in the as a plugin SaaS solution for emerging shipping companies and logistic companies out there. Because if I see in the when the COVID hit, the freight prices in the import exports were skyrocketed, and now currently at this point of time it's below average. So there is a lot of opportunity. A lot of the shipping companies and logistic companies are looking out for customer acquisition, and platform like Antelope will be great solution out there in order for them to automate their processes, as well as to gain more customers for them as well. And they would be, end of the day, capitalizing on this technology of blockchain.
Yeah, that sounds good, and that's great, because you try to like reduce the costs for the trading sector and automate all the processes. We have a big problem also, now with the shipping companies. Prices is really high, and we need projects as Antelope that try to reduce all the costs, all the processes, and do like all the automation and the tracking of everything on 100% on chain, more secure and more scalable and more fast. This is amazing.
International trade sector is one such industry which affects the economy of a country, basically, and that cannot be disrupted. And advancements need to be got into this sector, and all of them are working on it. When I said digitization gained importance after COVID, and everything is getting automated. There are smart ports out there globally, working, functioning on QR basis model, having 5G technologies. So that's where makes it more efficient to tap into those areas as well, where you are automating the entire processes using technology. And it makes us interesting to be there in this space, specifically on the automating part, as well as we have providing trade finance. That's another component where tapping into DeFi. It makes it
Yeah.
more interesting and giving out the opportunity for the traditional people, traditional logistic import sector to capitalize on the funds available in the DeFi side. And Antelope would have that be a sort of bridge to fill in that gap between this traditional and the DeFi. So yeah, it's quite good to be there and to build this solution
Yeah,
using ICP as well. Yeah,
it's a good combination. It's like fintech, DeFi, DAO,
right.
and then like mix international trading sector solutions with providing trading finance. That's awesome. And in terms of your growth, what is the goals in terms of next months or next years on the midterm? And then how many people are you currently in the team? And if you are thinking in extend the team and hire more people?
Yeah. So yeah, currently on the tech side, we want to get in 2 more developers onboarded as soon as possible, as we building this automation part. And on the business side, on the customer acquisition, we want to hire more sales and also communication and marketing, because we are out there in the market selling out our solution, where we have yes, we are providing trade finance. Apart from that, also we need to get into this segment of automation part, right? So marketing also will play a major role out there, and tapping into this particular segment of SME on automating part of reaching out to logistics. So yeah, we're looking out to increasing our bandwidth going ahead as we keep building. And yeah, maybe like we increase our initial on the numbers wise, we would like to have around 10 to 15 customers, B2B clients, particularly initial phase of next 2 to 3 months, where we spin trades between, facilitate finance for those trades. And we see more bottlenecks, figure out more bottlenecks out there in those trades. And trade processes keep changing from a commodity. So there is a standard, but some of the things changes, and that's where we need to optimize as well for each of the trade. So we need to work with, we are looking at having a roadmap of working with 10 clients initially, and then scaling up, going ahead from there once we have a robust solution built at Antelope.
Okay, so great. Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Dheeraj, for your time today. I think is enough. That's really amazing. Honestly, the best of luck for Antelope. The project looks ambitious for sure, but exciting and amazing. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, just need the best blockchain to do your dreams reality. I think in ICP, for sure, you can achieve your goal. For sure, I'm going to talk with the Affinity teams and the software developers to do the transition smooth and do everything in ICP, the SNS model, DAOs, and everything. And just the last question is, you have any advice for other entrepreneurs that try to do the same, try to migrate the projects to ICP, or with all the situation now, a lot of founders are concerned about what happened with my business. Maybe I have to close tomorrow, or maybe it's like any fraud that affect me. What is your recommendation to these founders and investors that try to find any other blockchain as ICP?
Yeah, so everyone out there building on blockchain, it's about the trust, and it's about decentralization, right? It's about eliminating the third party and building that solution of peer-to-peer model. So when, yes, there are promising solutions out there in Ethereum, there is Matic, the layer 2 solution, but each of them have their own specialty out there. And on that wise, when you say there needs to be a trust that the traditional industry needs to trust on the blockchain, I think ICP is doing a very great job, because in building something on ICP serves the purpose of blockchain. That's about decentralization, and that's when you can bring in trust with the traditional market out there and gain trust on the blockchain rather than considering this scams or whatever things are going around in the Web3 space now. So it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs to look at build something very solid as a robust platform out there on ICP network, because it's a full stack where each of the components they would require for building something, it's available out there in one network. That makes it more interesting. And also on the scalability wise, which is a crucial thing out there, it might for B2B or B2C. That was a previously that's a problem all the blockchains were trying to solve about the transaction per second. So Ethereum went to 2.0 now, and but again, on the transaction wise, the cost fees or everything is also one of the factors that business needs to consider. Where that considering all that factors, ICP is doing a great job with. There's a huge 600 transaction per second, and also can go gasless. I mean, gas fees. There won't be a gas fees for the transaction. Also, that would be interesting for entrepreneurs out there to build something very good solution out there on ICP. So I would recommend them to, and again, is migrating part on the technology wise also is not that complicated out there. So there's a very, you guys have very good documentation. Documentation is very crucial out there, and you have tackled that thing, and it would be great out there for all the developers to migrate and
awesome.
Capitalize on SNS as well.
Great. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Perfect. Thank you, Dheeraj. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me at ICP, and you should have a